Okay, so Amanda, thank you so much for being here with us. So how did the awareness of PSD actually come into your life? Like where did you get connected with it?
Actually, it came to me through my mentor, Morgan. She recommended the book to me. And so I went ahead and I trust her and everything that I heard her sharing about it. I got the book and dove in and didn't even get to the end of the book before I heard about the thriving experience.
Morgan's fantastic. She's done amazing work. I love her work. Yeah, beautiful. And what drew you to the thriving experience itself?
After reading the book, pretty much anything that could help get more of this goodness into my life, I was 100% going after.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really need any convincing.
Totally. So the book kind of was like the whew, and then it was just like,
Yes,
have more?
I resonated with so much. I felt like things that I have experienced but haven't had words or language for, the book finally gave me a new framework for these things that maybe I would have recognized as trauma responses, but would have known where they really came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like the book was like this huge aha moment the entire
There's
time.
one long
Aha! Oh, aha! Aha! That makes so much sense. It's PSD. And now I can't now everything I'm like, oh my goodness, this is something else. And this is something else. So the minute that I heard about the thriving experience, I need more of this because the book was just blowing my world open in such a good way.
I love that one long extended aha moment. That's a great
still happening, especially now. Actually, after the thriving experience, it's almost worse.
Yeah, I could be more intense. There was a lot of ahas there too. Yeah, beautiful. And what did you hope to get out of the thriving experience?
Everything that I could. My biggest desire was to have more tools to equip me to first work through all of my prison guards and to be able to recognize more of how this is showing up in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So because I know that's going to impact everybody around me, friends, family, clients, and more, even culture wise. But for me, my greatest desire was to equip myself and for me to be able to dismantle my own misogyny and the way that I perpetuate this in my own life. And that happened and then some.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I appreciate the awareness of going in with that, right? Like that place of like seeing how pervasive and how, so thank you for being so committed to getting through.
Yeah, and I got so much more healing than I even thought that I would from the thriving experience.
Wow. I'm excited to hear about it. And what did you have any reservations going into the experience or into the weekend?
Not really, except for the thought that came up of like, maybe I didn't have enough trauma. Like maybe I somehow wasn't like qualified to get what I wanted. Maybe somehow I wouldn't be able to get that desire fulfilled because I didn't have enough trauma somehow, maybe, which is like total BS.
Right. This is another great prison guard.
I'm like, oh no, it's just another prison guard. I have plenty of trauma.
You're human. You've got plenty of trauma.
Yeah.
And you're a woman. Plenty of trauma, right? Yes.
But otherwise, no, actually, I didn't. For me, I was all in.
Beautiful. And is there anything that could have prevented you from being there, or?
Normally, I guess my life would have prevented me, but I just rescheduled a few things, and being as how I'm quarantined at home right now. And on top of that, my car brakes were actually out. So it's just, the universe conspired to get me there.
It does that sometimes. This kind of stuff. It's like, you need to be here now.
So normally it could have been schedule, perhaps, that would have gotten in the way. But I was meant to be there. So for me, it was relatively easy. I could have allowed excuses to come up, but once I dedicated myself to it, there wasn't really anything for me to hold me back.
I'm so glad to hear that. And when you were there, you mentioned already some, but what kind of ahas, breakthrough shifts, like what did you experience? What kind of opened up for you?
The first one was that I am less alone than I thought. Because being in in the work that I do, I knew that I wasn't alone, but I didn't really know. There were still those voices that tell me that I'm alone, or my trauma is so unique, or I don't have enough, or it's not the right kind. And being with so many other women from across the globe really opened my eyes to, I really am not alone. And my trauma is not really special, like in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's not special in a bad way. It it resonates with so many of us. That was like the first aha moment. Oh my goodness, this is so pervasive. And some things that I thought perhaps were related to religion. I had a very conservative religious upbringing. I realized other women on this call who don't have that have a lot of the same symptoms as me and traumas. And so, wow, it's not even necessarily religion. And so I felt like maybe I had a little bit more closed-mindedness than I thought that I did, or just saw things maybe in a box, and it helped to open my awareness. Oh wow, there's so much more here than I knew, and a lot more of this is patriarchy, stress disorder versus whatever else you want to put on it. So that was like the second aha. Would be like, oh, it's not actually even just religion related.
Wow.
And let me think. Oh, there were just like so many. Still been marinating in. Those are the first two that come. And a third aha was how pervasive this has been in the way that I manage my money and my business. Just realizing I stop money from coming towards me because of the beliefs that I have accepted because of the patriarchy, and just beliefs that I inherited even from my mom and my grandmother and so forth, that I've allowed them to hold me back from so many things that I desire and that I'm worthy of, because these beliefs cause me to think that I just couldn't, that everybody else can, but not me. I just can't. I'm not worthy. If I expand too much, if I become too abundant or too wealthy, then I'll essentially be abandoned by the men in my life. And being a woman is too much. There were just so many that I'm still unpacking as the time goes on. Like, it's one long aha moment. For real.
Yes.
Ah.
Totally. Wow. So it sounds like this big, starting with that, like, not alone, like, oh my goddess, this is actually,
It's pervasive.
It's pervasive. Exactly.
Across culture, across countries. And I'm a multicultural, multilingual woman, but still, this was still to me like, oh wow, it's worse than I thought, even me.
Yeah. And then that was deeper than religion or this. It's like almost this more fundamental level.
Yeah, the underlying belief, something I heard a lot, was a lot of other women resonated with this belief that if they became too wealthy or too abundant, they would be abandoned by the men in their life.
Oh.
It wasn't just me, specific to the way that I grew up with the men around me in my life. It was actually other women across continents that felt the same thing, that they weren't allowed to access a certain amount of wealth or abundance. And also the belief that women are too much just because they're a woman. Something that I thought maybe was personal to me. I feel like I'm too much because of, XYZ, actually extends to so many other women feeling like they are too much. And it's been communicated to us that it's because we are a woman. That one still has been firing in my brain the last couple of days.
Yeah. That whole, like, as a woman, too much, not enough, right? Either being too much, like this constant patriarchy game. It's like you're screwed either way.
But we're still not enough. Turn on the TV and the advertisements will tell you that you're not enough. Whether it's because you're too old or too wrinkled or not happy enough or not sexy enough or not young enough or healthy or vibrant enough. It's everywhere.
Intense patriarchy prison, just.
Yeah, and that's just like a really broad one. It's not even like little specific ones when we were younger. Like in my life, from a very young age, received the messaging that simple things like menstrual pads and tampons were an excessive expenditure, or were a financial burden. And this is something that every fertile woman needs. And it was communicated to me that this is a financial burden. It's separate from toilet paper, which is a human need. Somehow everyone needs that, but this wasn't on the same, somehow not on the same level. Or just different things that women need and made to feel or believe that these are burdens and it makes me too much. And so there was this underlying belief that became pervasive in my life, for me personally, that there really wasn't anything I could do to ever compensate for this debt that I was incurring just by existing as a woman. Was incurring this debt on society, for whether it's because I need extra undergarments because I'm a woman in a society that requires me to wear a bra, or and men don't have that expense.
No.
Or menstrual pads and tampons, there's that expense. And not to mention, if girls like pretty things, then that's like an added expense, and it's all considered to be unnecessary and too much just because you're a woman. So that's kind of been sinking in more the last few days. Wow, how are we raising our girls? Teaching them that they're just too much just because they're a girl. And yeah, that one's still
unraveling.
Yes. Still kind of aha.
Amazing. And as that like ahas out and unravels, what becomes possible in your life?
Oh, anything is possible all of a sudden. If none of this is really true, and if this is all just a perpetuation of the patriarchy, this invisible ceiling they want women to hit up against, then anything is actually possible, because you start to question everything.
Right.
Well, if that's not true, then what else isn't true? And if that's possible, then what else is possible? And all of a sudden it snowballs. Yeah. Oh, well, anything is possible. I'm not only not too much, but well, then there's permission for me to bring so much more of me. How much of me could I bring? All of me. I can bring all of me. Wow, there's actually room for all of me. And the expansion into abundance. Okay, well, if I have permission to expand this much, well, how much could I expand? Well, how much wealth could I receive? How much abundance could I receive? How much health could I receive? How much could I expand? I can actually expand all the way. I could actually have it all. I have abundance in everything. Wow. Yeah. And we think we know that, but we don't really know that. Not fully.
Not embodied.
No, not for me. It wasn't fully embodied. Yeah. I knew we could have it all, but not really. I didn't really.
Yeah, it's
like I would feel those inhibitions and not know why or where they came from, and I just thought it was me, that I was just inhibiting myself, and it's so much deeper than that. And now I know I have so much more permission now that I know that it's not just me, because I of course want to release myself, and not hold myself captive. So now I know that anything is possible.
Wow. I love how you sort of went to that place of like how it just snowballs, the unlocking of anything is possible into that, like what Dr. Valerie likes to say, like the mastering the game of how good can it get? Like how much can you expect?
Oh, it can get so much better than really I could ever have imagined. It's exciting too. It adds an excitement to life. How good could it really be? Well, if it could get this good, then how much better could it get? What next? And there's this more excitement to up level and somewhere alive and awake in a way.
Yes. Oh, so celebrating that with you, massively celebrating that increasing in possibility. And thank you for bringing that to the world, because the world needs women like you, all the women really, in that full anything is possible space. Thank you. And just what other highlights from the weekend? What were some of the other major highlights?
Highlights from the weekend. How many am I allowed to highlight without giving something away? Because
It
Because I'm
also,
like, I want to leave a little, intrigue. I don't necessarily want to just like give everything away.
it
I
also,
really appreciated that we opened with just women and
mm,
gave us all a safe place to, just to be us women before you came. I
mhm,
really appreciated that. It made me feel safer that it wasn't automatically that I'd have to confront whatever may come up
yes.
with a man being present with all of these women and being encouraged to bring all of whatever could be attached, whatever wounding could be attached to a male presence. And I
Mhm,
appreciated the way that you came and that your presence was introduced. And I also appreciated then having you the rest of the time. It was so grounding. And I've actually told other people this. I wish that Jeffrey could train other men in trauma spheres, because the balance that you brought was so beautiful. We had such a balance of masculine and feminine working together,
mhm,
in both yourself and in Dr. Valerie, that to me that was very meaningful. And the your presence allowed at least me to kind of exhale and relax, and like, I don't have to hold the space.
mm,
I don't have to be the strong one. I don't have to be the facilitator. I don't have to take care of you.
mm,
And a lot of the spaces that I'm in with men, as a coach, not even as a coach, just as a person, a daughter, a sister, however I move in the world, I feel a lot of times that I still have to caretake for the men and hold space. And the way I was brought up is also even with that teaching that a man's ego is so fragile, which is so toxic on so many levels. But you held the space so beautifully, and I could feel that masculine essence. I could feel your core and your backbone. It just allowed me to rest, to lean back into my feminine, to be able to receive and to move through the rest of the few days. So if anyone had any reservation for one thing over a man being present, the first thing I would say was thank God that there was actually a masculine essence present. So we didn't have to be the strong ones. We didn't have to take care of him. We didn't have to worry about, how pretty it sounded and whether or not it was going to crush his poor little ego. It was very refreshing to be in a space where we didn't have to worry about that.
yeah.
So that was a really big highlight for me, of just being able to rest and relax and not take care of the masculine ego that's actually hurt me in the past. And I felt like I could get a deeper healing
Mm,
because of that. Not to mention the ways that you showed up and held space, and just, yeah, stepped in. And I'm like, I'm trying not to give too many things away, but it was also very beautiful. So that was a big highlight. The balance of another highlight for me was from teaching to putting into practice in like a workshop. I really, really appreciated how much it was like a workshop of, we actually put things into practice, we integrated, we embodied, and you interwove everything with space for our nervous systems to reset.
mm,
It was so trauma informed. It was another big highlight for me at how deftly y'all wove that in with everything, so that anytime anything felt like it might become too much, or before we even had time to think that it might be, you were already leading us into something to reset, to cleanse this space, to reset our nervous system, to lead us back into homeostasis and peace and calm and groundedness before we would move on. And I really appreciated the way that was woven throughout, because otherwise a couple of days of so much intensity could leave you feeling fried and unable to integrate afterwards. But
right.
I feel like the integration has been so smooth because of the way you wove so many trauma informed practices into it and allowed us to ground and reset constantly. You took such good care of our nervous systems.
Oh,
So that
ah.
was very meaningful and definitely a highlight. There were so many good quotes. I can't even begin with the quotes. You've shifted the book, really. So many good quotes. And one of the ones that really stuck out to me, was how you were explaining or talking about why men tend to resist the movement of feminine liberation or understanding patriarchy stress disorder, and why there is a resistance with men. And as you were sharing on that, something Dr. Valerie said was because to those who have privilege, equality feels like oppression.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa. And you explained how, men are used to having equal power or power over women. And so then when women up level to men, it feels like they're going like this. And men already don't fit into the paradigm. They're already not enough. Even though they have more power than women or more authority, they're still not enough.
Right.
They're never measuring up. They're never cutting it. So our men live in this perpetual not enoughness like we do. Mm-hmm. And then when we start to up level, it's like, oh no, they feel like they lost the little that they had. And that just made so much sense and helped me have so much more compassion and understanding for the resistance that I feel from the masculine and from the men in my life. I felt like that was a really big highlight to me. Oh, I wondered, is there something wrong with me? That I feel this resistance? Is there something wrong with them? Which one of us isn't doing it right? That this is somehow not working? And when you said that, I was like, oh, of course, because they're already not enough. Mm-hmm. Well, no wonder then they feel like they just sunk lower instead of realizing that we're just coming up into our power more and we can go together. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated that y'all brought that in so that it didn't become, was not an anti-man. People hear patriarchy, stress disorder, or an experience where you were gathering to learn about this and people are like, oh, anti-man. And it was the exact opposite. And I so appreciated that we were given more tools to be able to understand what we're coming up against for our sake, so we don't think that we're crazy. Mm-hmm. I feel like I understand myself. Oh, okay, I'm not really imagining the resistance. I'm not crazy. And also I have more compassion for the men in my life and what they're experiencing.
Beautiful. Wow.
That's a really big highlight. There's so many. I'm
just taking it all in, just like, wow.
It's like going back through the experience all over again.
Wow. And I'm just so much appreciation for, again, your awareness as you're navigating through them, how things were received, where you took off. You took it to such powerful, transformative places, right? I mean, even if this space is held, it's in how you moved through it, how you related with it. So, wow. Wow, and thank you. And I also just want to really, so much of that moving towards that greater equality, it's amazing how much, Valerie's been she's like led me in that journey of just reflecting it to me like, oh, this shadow, what? just that we're always working with each other. I just really want to honor how much she's really, as a man myself, who I was doing conscious men work for a long time, how much she just helped me take things to the next level in those areas of awareness. So just want to.
But your humility makes it so easy to respect you. I want to reflect that on you also, that your humility to me is a reflection of your strength and made the container also feel so held, so safe. We never had to worry about hurting your pride, and you wanting to, thank Dr. Valerie. To me, that's just like another reflection of that. And for anyone watching this, they can expect to find that in, if they were to attend the Thriving Experience. So the way that you're here with me on the call is the way that you show up there. And that same humility is a reflection of the strength that you bring to the container. And I deeply appreciate it.
I appreciate that. It's definitely something I've had to work on a lot. My default used to be a lot more arrogance. So there's been a lot of humbling. It's been a lot of humbling. So I'm glad it's working.
It's working. It's anti-patriarchy.
There you go. It's liberating. Yeah, exactly. Liberating and healing. So thank you. I'm glad it feels safe. I'm glad it's supportive. It means a lot to me. So it's beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. I'm just like digesting all this.
I don't know, I'm like, wow, am I leaving anything out? Or just like repeating it kind of like makes it go off in my head again.
Yeah, like re-engages and celebrates it. It's beautiful. And there's so much, you said so much good stuff there. I don't know if I can go back and reflect all the different amazing feelings you reflected there. But I'll just say wow and thank you. And just if you were speaking to, your past self before you got to the experience, or another woman who is considering going to the experience, is deciding whether or not to commit to attending the thriving experience, what would you say to
Mm. Number one, make sure that you have time afterwards for lots of naps and hydration.
her?
Number two, it will change your life.
Mm.
Number three, just do it. Everything I've told my friends so far has been basically everything I've shared so far, is just sharing my experience and everything that I've gone through, the highlights and my takeaways and transformation. And usually that's about all I have to say. And I'm like, you should just do it. You will experience this too. If you want to have your mind blown, you want to have your pages open and the glass ceiling gone forever. You want to realize that you've been domesticated to death your whole life, but you're really free to be wild. All of this and more. It's yours. And you'll know. Join the thriving experience. You'll have your mind blown in all the right ways. But they'll put it back together by the end. So gently and lovingly. It's like a series of boom, put it back together.
I love that. We'll quote you on that one. Then. Put it back together.
Yes, get your mind blown and have us lovingly put it back together. Oh, so tenderly and gently in a trauma-informed manner. Yeah. This sounds like you joined the thriving experience.
Oh, delightful. Oh, wow, you've shared so much, and I so appreciate it. Hopefully it'll help others to be able to step in, to be able to get free in whatever way their wisdom wants for them.
I hope so. There's so much more out there for us than we've been led to believe.
Mm-hmm. And you said, so is there anything else you want to share? I mean, I feel very complete, but in case I want to open the floor if there was anything else.
If there's anything else to share.
And if not, that's okay too. There's so much gold there already.
That basically doesn't matter where you come from or what your story is. I've lived in a few different countries, and I met in the thriving experience women on different continents, and you're not alone. It doesn't really matter whether it was religion or lack of religion, whether it was that you grew up in poverty or in wealth. It transcends so much and is so pervasive. Don't hold yourself back based on, oh, it's because I look like this, or I talk like this, or I'm from here, or I grew up this way, I won't be able to relate, or my problems are just me. I would just say, that this transcends all of that. Come and experience, meet other women. I loved meeting other women from across the globe and talking with them in real time and hearing their stories, looking into their eyes, even through a screen. It was so meaningful to have other women gather around us as sisters, so many different backgrounds, so many different levels of wealth or income were presented, different religions, different races, different languages, so many different things. And yet we could all find common ground and both our struggles and our celebrations. And it was so beautiful to be able to hold space for other women and feel them hold space for us, to mirror back our humanity to each other. It was just so beautiful. I would just tell, I would tell them to just let go of any inhibitions and welcome in everything that is yours, and just come and join, link arms with your sisters, and prepare to have your life changed in a beautiful way.
Wow. Amanda, thank you so much. Thank you for the incredible work you're up to. Thank you for your words, your sharing, your sincerity. And thank you for being a badass and really doing your work and being out there in the world and helping to change it, and big honoring and respect.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And the same to you also. If Dr. Valerie hadn't followed her desire, we wouldn't be here. And if you wouldn't have been open and have been willing to be humbled in a way, and rise into your strength in that way, we wouldn't be here either. And so I'm very grateful to you and to Dr. Valerie as well.
It is truly our pleasure. There's few things we can imagine is more enjoyable to us than doing this kind of work with women. So it's like, so yeah. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.